How do you build a seven-figure net worth as a business owner? A lot of people think that making seven figures in sales is going to get you there, but y'all, I have seen a lot of seven, multi seven, and even eight-figure business owners who are broke AF. Okay. Just because you're making seven figures in sales does not mean that you're putting money in your pocket, does not mean you're saving and investing and actually building a net worth. What matters more than your sales, honestly, is what you do with the sales that you do have. So, what I want to talk about today is my story of how I built seven figures in net worth as an entrepreneur by the time I was 35. I'm going to share the three things that I think had the biggest impact on me reaching over $1 million in net worth and my current priorities. But before I dive in, I do want to point out that everyone's path to building wealth is different as a business owner, especially. You don't have all of the same strategies that you might have had when you had a W-2 job, when your primary source of wealth creation was putting money into your 401k. Honestly, most of the clients that I work with are very interested in other forms of investments outside of just retirement accounts, whether it's real estate or buying other businesses or investing, becoming a private lender. There are so many different investment opportunities that are out there, not just for entrepreneurs, but I find that when you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you do begin to think outside of the box of just the traditional 401k contributions that you probably made when you had your job. So a little over 10 years ago, back in 2023, I actually had a negative $53,000 net worth because when I left my first marriage at the young age of 26, I took $55,000 in debt with me and had approximately $1,000 to my name in my checking account. And I actually went back and looked at my spreadsheets before I recorded this, and I think I had a little bit left in my savings. So my net worth was about negative 53,000 back in 2013. I say that just so you know that you might look at me and think I have it all figured out. I always knew what I was doing, and I've been building my net worth from an early age. And the reality is, no, I didn't. I didn't have it together. I actually recorded a podcast episode a while back. We can link it below in the description that walked through how I got into that debt that I had and then how I got out of it. So fast forward to today, I have a net worth combined with my husband because a lot of the things we do are just really closely tied together. But our combined net worth is approximately $1.2 million. Now, I'm not going to give you an exact detailed breakdown of what our actual asset values are at for each of the different categories because my husband is a little bit more private than I am when it comes to sharing those really personal things. But I'll give you some of the big picture stuff that we have done to build our net worth. So there are three things I think were really crucial to building over $1 million in net worth as an entrepreneur. And some of them started even before I became an entrepreneur. So the first thing is that I did start putting money into retirement pretty early in my career. Now, it wasn't a ton, and my first job outside of college was as a teacher. My salary was $32,000. I did not put money into retirement because I just didn't have the money to, but I did that for 2 years. Then I went back to get my master's at UNC. And then when I began my first job in public accounting, I took advantage of the employer match that my job offered. I didn't put a ton in from 2012 to 2013 because I had the debt. I think I put like really tiny, minuscule amounts in. But after I paid off my debt, I started contributing more into my retirement account, at least to take advantage of the full match that my employers offered. Fast forward to today, I've contributed a little bit since I left my full-time job in 2020, but really just about like $5,000 or $6,000 a year. And the current balance of all of my retirement accounts right now is about $142,000. A huge chunk of that value has come from the growth that money has gotten just from being invested in the stock market over the last almost 10 years. So if I contribute nothing else to those accounts between now and the time that I am 60 years old, which will be in 23 years, I will have just over $700,000 in today's money sitting in that account. But my personal goal is to get that account to be up to at least $1 million in today's money. And so to do that, I just have to contribute about $5,000 to $6,000 a year every year until I'm 60. I may front load that even more just so I can hit the goal faster. The reason that I want to do this is what I call my oh crap retirement fund, which I'll go into more in another video. But basically, this is my, if all of my business ventures fail, I will at least have this retirement account to fall back on when I'm in my 60s and 70s and older. The second thing that really has contributed to our overall net worth, and this is especially coming from my husband, I do not claim to be a real estate pro, but he has a major background in real estate, is making good real estate investments. So he admittedly has a really good eye for real estate, although our current house I actually picked out, so I'm going to take the credit for that. But 3 times, one time he's done it by himself, and then 2 times we've bought a property together. He has identified, or we have identified, a property that is going to appreciate significantly in value, which is one of the best things about buying real estate. So he did this back when he lived in DC. He bought a condo in an up and coming neighborhood and then sold it several years later. He rented it for a few years and then sold it and made almost $100,000 off of it after tax. We did this with our first house that we lived in together. This was our townhouse in Charlotte where we bought it. We lived there for a couple years. Then we moved to our current house. We rented our other property. And then after a couple years, decided to take advantage of the increased values of the neighborhood and sell the property. And I think that one we made like $70,000 off of, which was pretty solid.
Our current house that we bought has increased in value by almost 80% since we bought it. And typically when I do net worth exercises with people, I don't like to include the value of your primary residence in your net worth. But when I calculated our numbers, I did include a portion of it because we have so much equity that if we were to pull that equity out, we could actually go do that now. And we're thinking about it to buy future real estate, but we could use the equity in our house to fund future real estate purchases and use that to make more investments. And if we were to sell it, we've had this conversation. If we were to just say, you know what, we want to sell everything, sell my business, sell the house, cash out everything we can and walk away, we would have enough money to probably we'd have to downsize our lifestyle, but we could go get a much cheaper house in cash and not have to pay a mortgage ever again. And we could probably never have to work to pay our bills going forward if we wanted to, which we don't, but we could if we wanted to, which is always a nice thing to know in the back of your head. And the third thing that I think has had the biggest impact on our net worth is the value of Young & Co., my accounting and CFO business. So I went full time in that business in 2020. So we're going on about 4 years of running it full time, plus 2 more years of running it as a side hustle. And I could probably, rough estimate, go sell that business for anywhere from, let's say, 1.2 million to 1.5 million. A lot of people don't think of their business as an asset that they would include in their net worth. I very much do because, one, I know that I could go sell it and put cash in my pocket, a lot of cash in my pocket. But also, when we bought our other firm last year, the bank lended against the value of that business. So they included it as, in our whole list of assets that we owned, which meant that they gave us money because they saw that it had value, right? If the bank's going to lend against an asset, that is an asset that you should absolutely include in your net worth.
So there's a breakdown of what makes up my over $1 million net worth as an entrepreneur. The biggest chunks of that, definitely the number one biggest chunk, is absolutely coming from my business. The equity in our house that I'm including in the calculation is a big chunk. And then also our retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, savings accounts is another pretty big chunk. So my current priority is to build up more liquidity or more cash in our savings and investment accounts. And our next priority is probably going to be to go back into the real estate game a little bit because we haven't had a rental property in a few years. And I'm not saying that we'll never buy another business. We probably will buy another business at some point. It's just not a priority probably for 2024 or maybe even 2025. So I hope that gave you some insights into what it looks like to build a 7-figure net worth as an entrepreneur. Again, as a reminder, everybody's path is different. You absolutely do not have to buy real estate or have to buy businesses in order to build up a 7-figure plus portfolio as a business owner. But I know that a lot of you watching, if you're like my clients, you're probably interested in those things. It starts with your business. It starts with a business that is profitable, that you show tax returns with income on, so you can take that to the bank if you want to go get out a loan to buy business or to buy real estate, that the banks will accept that and say, yeah, you do have an asset. You do have something that produces income. We're going to give you money to turn around and use to invest into more assets. So if you have any questions about what I talked about in this video, make sure you drop them in the comments and I will see you back here next time.